big pleasure being here, Ben. I'm
Thank
at Skærsøgaard today, one of our exhibitors at the Cool Climate Wine Summit 2026.
Welcome.
You have also been there 2025, so happy to have you on board again.
Yes, I'm looking forward to 2026. I think it will be an amazing event. It was already in 2025, so I'm looking forward to it.
We're working on it. And I mean, sitting here in the region of Dons by the city of Kolding, that many people might not know intuitively, but we are in the region, in the larger region, PGI region of Jutland. So the Jutland Peninsula, Denmark's main part. And we are sitting here at Skærsøgaard, which is the oldest licensed winery in Denmark.
Exactly.
1998, if I...
1998, the first blends were planted, the first wines. And 2000 was the first vintage. And 2001 was the first commercial vintage under the license of a winery.
So here is really like a place where Danish pioneering winemaking happens, so to say.
Yes, next year, 25 years.
25 years. But before we dive into it, let us start with our open-ended sentences so we get you a little bit better to know. First question. If you would not be a winemaker, what would you do today?
Good question, because I'm works in the wine business since I'm 17. And for me, it was always like that what I wanted to do. And I found that out very early when I did that. But I think if I would not be a winemaker, I probably have a farmhouse in the northern Italian Alps, would have some cows, forestry, and make cheese.
That sounds like a great alternative that might be connectable with wine at the end of the day.
Yes, and I will always have some wine plants, no matter where I am.
So given that you work in the wine industry and you make wine since you're 17, I think the next question should be fairly easy for you, or you definitely know somebody who can mention who is a person who truly inspired your winemaking.
That was my master I've learned from when I was in education, Paul Fürst, because he taught me to take care of the details. And when you are 17 years old and you come from school and you have never really worked, then you need someone who teach you how to work. And he taught me how to work and focus on stuff and see not the whole, only the whole thing. It was very much into details. And that impresses me that he noticed he can come into a room and see immediately what's going on. It took him about a minute to see if there's something not like it should be. And that talent, I think, I found in myself as well. I go to a vineyard and can see immediately, we need to do this and this. And it's often the details that needs to, it's the little screws you have to turn to make it a success.
To really make also like a great product.
Yes,
the end,
exactly.
Right? Yeah, okay.
And that I learned from him, and it really impressed me at that time. And it still does. Yeah.
Okay. Next question. Now, we just were like debating about Sangersteff 1990. I don't know if that is maybe the answer, but a wine that describes you perfectly.
I asked Kat, my wife, and she said, "You are sparkling." Definitely, because I'm a not very patient person in my private life, but here when I work with wine, I get really patient. For me, it's like meditation sometimes for me to work with the wine. The sounds they do during fermenting, the sounds outside in the fields. And to make sparkling, you need to be very patient. And I've learned that while I started making sparkling wine. But I'm also super powerful and do stuff a lot, and I have always ideas, and that is a little bit like the bubbles in the sparkling. So you can describe it like you have to wait, be patient, but also being very active.
I love it that you like come with this like winemaking perspective, because I mean, I would probably also like describe myself as sparkling, but I totally see the perspective of popping the bottle and the energy and enjoyment that comes out then, right? Not the patient side at all, right?
And that is when you work with the sparkling, there's so much patience before you can pop that bottle. So I'm both, like the patient part, but also when you pop the bottle, energy, and we need to have this and this, and we want to do this and this. So I'm a sparkling. Kat said that, and I would so say it's true.
Fourth question, or like fourth point, nature. We talked a lot about it already, but what does it mean for you and your work in the vineyard and with the wine?
For me, it is, I'm happy that I'm as a winemaker here at Skærsøgaard have the possibility to do everything. From the pruning in the winter, to working in the heat in the summer, to be in the rain in autumn. And for me, nature is, I like to see how the seasons change. Outside in extreme rain, when a thunderstorm comes and you can smell it the whole day, oh, there will be a thunderstorm, or you can smell the snow is coming. So that is for me nature, the power of it. And when then now at this moment we're recording, the grape starts to bleed and the energy takes up the water, and that's nature for me. The smells, the sounds, and we are working with a nature product. Nature is most of the time my boss.
It's so beautiful, like this description, because I really realized that when starting driving through Denmark, like yesterday, visiting some of the Danish wineries here, and I was on the highway and the sun is shining, and I just had to like open the window all the time because it's like fresh breeze of summer when you're on of spring when you're on the countryside. It just makes you so happy. It just fills you with so much zest for life and energy.
You come out of winter, and then these days, the first warm days, you get like this power push inside you. Now you want to go into the garden and here and plant some trees and grapes and do this and that, and it awakes now. It wakes up from winter, and this is so powerful.
So now you mentioned Kat already before. So you live here in Skærsøgaard since 2016.
Yes.
And tell me your story. You are German.
Yes.
And you live with your wife in Denmark, who's also a winemaker, right?
Yes.
And you live here and make wine with your 3 children.
Exactly.
How did this happen?
Everything happened and started back when I was 16, 17 and did my education and met Kat for the first time at the school for winemakers. And we never talked to each other, but we had eyes for each other. And we both are from Franconia. I worked in Bergstadt, Rudolf Fürst. Kat worked at Weingut Höflich in Großwallstadt. And we lost each other a little bit. She was working there, I was there. And then we went to university and in Franconia, and I met her again. And that is where the love story started. And Kat did an internship here at Skærsøgaard in 2014. During the education, we needed to go in another country. I was in Italy, she was here in Denmark. And so Kat actually was here doing an internship, and Sven offered a job. And I was in Italy and came up and met Sven, and it was a good match. We finished the school, our education. Half a year later, with our son Louis, half a year old, we moved to Denmark, which was super crazy. I mean, a child of half a year, speaking no Danish, have actually good perspectives in Germany as being a winemaker, come to Denmark, sounds super crazy, and it was super crazy. And 9 years later, we speak fluently Danish, have 3 kids here, and managing the winery, and everything is amazing.
And now you mentioned Sven Mosgaard, who is basically the owner, the owner and the founder of the winery. And I mean, for people who don't know him, I think we link in the show notes maybe like an article or something about his
Sven
story.
is the pioneer. Sven started all that with an idea and made it happen. And he had many goals and ideas about that, and he reached a lot of these things until today. And now there is a kind of a generation shift. That Kat and me are the next generation of Skærsøgaard.
Let's have some wine. I'm thirsty.
Yes.
And you talked about bubbles, but I think this is like a very special kind of bubbles we should talk about. Because when we look at the Scandinavian wine landscape, I mean, Sweden and Denmark are official wine countries. Norway is not an official wine country yet by European law. Norway is also like not European law, which is a little bit more complicated. But at the moment, we have mostly PGIs in Denmark and in Sweden. And we only have in Scandinavia at the moment 1 PDO.
Yes.
Which we now, so to say, get into the glass because it is a PDO of Dons, which Skærsøgaard holds 100%.
This is our signature wine. This is Dons Cuvée 2019 PDO, beskyttet oprindelsesbetegnelse in Danish. We are here in Dons, that's the little village here, 500 hectares of land. And we are the only producer here making wine. And on these 500 hectares, there's about 50 to 80 hectares where it's possible to make wine, from slope and direction and so on. We got it in 2018. It took 7 years to get it. And since 2018, we make Dons with DONS under PDO appellation.
And we link to the concrete description of the wine in the show notes. But in general, it must be a sparkling.
It must be a sparkling. It must be a malolactic fermentation. It must be. There's a few sorts only allowed to make the sparkling out of. We have also more sorts here, but there's just a few it's allowed of to do. There's minimum 9 months of bottle fermentation. We do an average actually 24 months plus. And then of course there is a lot of small details about it, how much you can harvest, the acidity, rest sugar, and so on and so on. But then it gets very nerdy. Yeah.
And it is Methode traditionelle.
Methode traditionelle, exactly. It is basic wine, then second fermentation on the bottle, then degorging by hand. It's a really handcrafted product.
Let's dive into it.
Yeah. You see the color. The color is already amazing. The pelage is a fine
very
pelage.
Fine,
yeah. We have toasted bread. We have brioche. We have yeasty notes, but also fresh aromatics, citrus.
I mean, well, like you said, certain grape varieties are allowed, right? And we talk here mostly about PV varietals.
All PV. We only have PV at the winery, and here for Cuvée, it's mainly Solaris, Orion, Salas Perle, Madeleine Angevine, and parts of Cabernet Cortés. Yeah.
And what I really like about it, I mean, aside of it's really nice balance, of course, the acidity structure is really great, but we talk very often about Danish sparkling wine that it now has the acidity levels that champagne maybe had like 20 years ago. Talked to like by Stokkebø about it, where some champagne winemakers told him, yeah, your wine tastes like ours, like back in the 60s, 70s, which is actually like more like a compliment, because we really show with global warming, etc., that we have something serious to offer here in Denmark.
Exactly. That's.
But what I also like about it, what I talked to many other people around, was we usually have a little bit of a hesitation when it comes to highly aromatic grape varieties and sparkling. I mean, nobody really gets hooked of the idea of a Sauvignon Blanc sparkling, although the New Zealand's getting really more and more into it. Yeah. And I think Solaris, and here's a blend of the PVs, really shows, you can do something great out of highly aromatic grape varieties.
That is why it's Cuvée, it is necessary. So only Solaris would be too much. So here it's necessary to have the Orion and the Madeleine Angevine. Only Solaris could be way too much, and it will lose the elegance. Yeah. So here it's the magie of putting the grapes together, already doing harvest and taste the grapes and decide, do we need a little bit more of Orion, do we need a little bit more of Madeleine Angevine or Salas Perle, because this year the Solaris is really, really aromatic, it can go too much. That is the art in it, to make a cuvée. Yeah. And it's all vintage. We only do vintage.
You only do vintage? Okay.
Only do vintage.
And you do a rosé too?
We do a rosé.
Sparkling?
Rosé sparkling, also PDO. This is a Rondo Cabernet Cortés and Pinot Noir Précoce. Then we do Blanc de Noir from Cabernet Cortés. And we do Cuvée Barrique sparkling, where the basic wine is storage for about half a year on barrels.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's come back a little bit to the eye for detail, because when we talked here beforehand, something I was really really excited to hear about is your perspective on canopy management. And I talked to the other Danish winemakers, and it's really what we understand more and more in the Danish terroir, and it's very much like its specialties, because really depending where we are in the small country, it's really different demands to how to work with canopy management. So we are here in Kolding, we are a little bit more like in inland Denmark. Yeah, the sea is fairly far away, right? And we have very heavy influence from the Atlantic and from the North Sea. The North Sea, one of the roughest seas of the world, right? So a lot of rain, a lot of heavy winds, etc. And you told me a little bit about when working with Solaris especially, and it's like really big leaves, that you have a certain, you have your own perspective on canopy management to, for example, work with the humidity that we might have, the disease pressure we might have, etc. Do you want to give us a little bit of an introduction to how you approach that?
It is necessary to know your vineyards. Where are they placed? Where is the wind from? How is the soil? What distances you plant? Again, it's the whole, but then it's the details. And for example, Solaris have these huge leaves. and also inside the leaf wall, you have these huge leaves. And my philosophy is that to make such a product like this, you need to invest time working by your hands. You need to use your hands. A lot of handwork is needed in the vineyards. For example, the de-leaving. I'm not happy with driving with a machine through the vineyard, and I would like to go with my team through, and then it takes time, but we are also very efficient. And then we move all the leaves also from the inside. We go in and take them out, that we have this airflow all the time. Then, of course, taking care that the under wine management is carried out in timing. And then use the nature to help you. That the wind comes through. Also, the way how you bend down against the wind, so the wind will push up the shoots instead of bending down with the wind, that your wind is laying down your shoots. You can use these small tricks in the vineyard to make it a success, and we do not have problems with fungi pressure out there, because we are very strict with the leaf wall management.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting to hear, because usually like people would assume in a climate like Denmark, fairly cold, fairly harsh, very rainy, especially in this part of Denmark, that you would have a problem with fungi, diseases, etc. Right? But then the answer is know your vineyard, know your terroir, right, and work your vineyard accordingly. And I think
exactly.
This is, I mean, at the end of the day, this is something I think really Cool Climate Wines is about, and
it's
also like a
challenge.
focus we want to give at the Cool Climate Wine Summit, right? Really to go into the discussion. Okay, we have specific problems and challenges A, B, C, D like this, right? Let's talk a little bit about like inspiration for your wines and your work, because I mean now you are, so to say, one of the oldest wineries. So we have here already like a situation where Sven, of course, built up like a heritage for the winery, also a certain style for the wines and a certain network of sales and distribution, etc. And now you two come in fairly young and dynamic with a lot of ideas, I guess. So what is the inspirations that you draw, or the sources of inspiration you have, and the idea maybe for the winery that you together with Sven realized where you want to go to?
Yeah, the fundamentation was there when we came. I often say it was a piece of paper where the storyline was written down and the two first chapters. Yeah. And now we have the possibility to write the story further. For me as a German, it is super nice to come to Denmark because everything is so new. When you work in Franconia, like where I'm from, you have a lot of history, and then you get told like we do it like grandpa did. We do it like we did it the last 50 years. And I
cannot do that here, definitely.
And I found very early, I found out that I just want to create something new and also like the challenge in it. And what inspired me here is that we can make a wine in that quality out of grapes where people for many, many years said, Solaris, Salas Perle, Madeleine Angevine. And then in the early years, I always made blind tasting with friends and people from Germany, and they never get it as a Danish wine because it is possible. And that was for me like, wow, we need to get every year a little bit better. And but we do not invent something totally new, because we have the sparkling with the PDO, and now it's all about to get every year a little bit better and screw on the small screws, the details again. And my inspiration was also Sven, who started all that with just an idea. And now I'm sitting with you here 25 years later in a winery that has the most northern PDO.
We're discussing Danish wine,
and discussing
right? I mean,
Danish wine, and have a wine in our glass that where the grapes are not known for that quality. Yeah. And now it's our job to convince people that you can make amazing wine out of these grapes.
That's definitely, and I mean, yeah, if anybody needs inspiration, right? I mean, 10th and 11th of January in Copenhagen.
We all drink a lot of champagne. We all had Bourgogne. We all had Riesling from Germany. And what I also like here is the contact to my private customers, because they come in, they maybe know something about Danish wine, but when they leave our winery, they're like, wow, absolutely like, wow.
And the Danes are very proud of that this is happening, right?
And people really thank us also often for like, this is something new. And how often do you get something totally new in your glass in the wine world?
Yeah.
We have drinking all the known varieties. We all who likes wine know how Sauvignon Blanc tastes. And maybe then there's a Sauvignon Blanc who like, you also wow. But here it's something new, and also people like to get surprised sometimes and like to try something new. Yeah. And our job is to spread that knowledge.
No, I think this is a very nice approach. Also mal den zweiten Wein dann angehen. Wir machen einfach einen Cut hier gleich. Kein Stress.
Ist es soweit gut?
Ich finde es sehr gut.
Wunderbar.
Ja. Lass uns jetzt mal ein bisschen über Rotwein reden, weil das ist
genau Rotwein.
Thema.
Wir machen den Léon Millot auf.
Hier läuft alles. Also ja, ist schon bei 21 Minuten. Na gut, also können wir ein bisschen speeden.
Gut.
Mal das Glas schnell austrinken.
Gute Idee. Das Konterglas.
Du, also ganz ehrlich, nichts hilft besser als eine Flasche Sparkling um 11 schon mal aufzumachen, wenn es einem so geht. Es ist leider so.
Mir geht's aber echt gut. Ich bin nur ein bisschen so...
Das ist ja die Berufskrankheit, das muss man ehrlich sagen. Good, let's dive into like a second wine. So, and this one really excites me because, as I told you before, and as I told Sven before, when I started my first Danish wine tastings here in Denmark a couple of years ago, trying to educate people about Danish wine, and I first came across the Léon Millot from Skærsøgaard. I really realized at that moment, okay, Denmark has actually like a real potential for red wines, but we really have to find the right grape varieties, right? I mean, long story short, we experimented in the early days with Rondo because everybody said Rondo is perfect for the cool climate, but we quickly realized that Rondo simply lacks a certain consumer appeal.
Yeah.
And then we tried with Bolero, which is a little bit like maybe too much in this like boring Merlot style. Then we have the Cabernet varieties like Canto and Cortis, which are, for me personally, very interesting, but I think for many consumers a little bit too much on the face, too much greenish vegetal. And then I had Léon Millot for the first time, a grape variety where we had a little bit of doubt where it comes from, right? There is a little bit debate going on, and the French have actually been quite happy for it. It was, I think, invented in 1911 or crossed in 1911 in Alsace, in Colmar. What is your take on it?
My take on it is that I'm very thankful for that Sven and Inger love red wine, and planted already in 1998 Léon Millot. It's the oldest vineyards here at Skærsøgaard.
It's the oldest vineyards?
It's with the oldest vineyards. Wow. We have old wines from Léon Millot. And for me, Sven already made always amazing red wine from Léon Millot. And I come from a region in Germany where I'm educated in red wine. So when I came to Denmark, for me it was, of course, we do the sparkling, but red wine. I need to have my hands also into red wine. So I love working with red wine. And I think you can see it in that product. You can feel it, you can taste it. For me, Léon Millot is amazing. The potential of Léon Millot is you can make really, really good red wines out of it. But it's a challenge. Here in our climatic situation, you cannot copy-paste how you do it in South. You need to find a way how to do it here to get that wine in that quality, in that spectrum out of it. That means how long maceration, how long do you ferment it with skin and skin contact, that you don't get these greenish notes and all that. And here we have a 2-year storaged red wine, 2 years on Danish oak, Swedish oak, American and French oak. We found out 2 years is amazing. The wine concentrates a little bit, the alcohol gets higher, the color gets a little bit less, and we have to open it now and taste it.
I would love to, definitely.
Yeah.
And what's the biggest challenge for getting it? Is the ripeness of grapes the biggest challenge? Or
the ripeness of grapes, and that Léon Millot is a very wild and bushy sort out in the fields. So you need double the time for leaf wall management than you maybe, for example, need for Solaris.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. This is, of course, again, question of manual power, and that increases the prices of the product.
Very small berries. There's not that much juice in these berries. But therefore, a very concentrated taste. But the berries are small, so you don't get enough out of it. So we talk about efficiency here, but it gets a nice red wine.
Really nice color, actually. Like, ruby, but has this like kind of orange, like blood orange touch or so. Right?
We have 3 different red wines. We have the Gold Top, which is a selection from the best vineyards. We cannot do that every year. We do that only in the best vintages. Then we have Léon Millot Nordic, 1 year oak storage, which is way darker. And then we have the Reserva with 2 years here, which is...
And I love it that you call it Reserva, like in a Italian, so to say, like pronunciation. Because when I have it in the nose, I mean, you could cheat me in the nose with something Italian here.
You have... The oak is very well integrated. You have red berries. You have spice.
For me, it's like a lot of espresso and
espresso, coffee, tobacco
perspective from the oak, like dark chocolate. As therefore, really for me, the Italian touch. There's something like you say, a little bit of a greenish touch, but not too much.
A little bit animalisk.
Yeah, very bloody. Also it feels
bloody.
like very bloody, like warm meat-like in a perspective, and then. Yeah, but with a nice berry profile also, like not dark berries. We clearly get here like the red berry profile, like with cherry, with some unripe strawberry perspective, some sour strawberries, some cranberry touch, dried cranberries. It's really
it's very complex.
Very complex. That is the point, right? I mean, it shoots out of the head immediately. And you discover more and more. So this is already like a good start, definitely, right?
And this is the wine I convince people with. Long. It
just lingers there, right? It just develops. But what I really like about it, I mean, you said now good oak integration, right? The cool thing about it is that you on the palate also clearly feel it comes from a cool climate region. It reminds me like a lot of what many of the Polish red wines and Polish Pinot Noirs are like, despite having been also like oak matured for quite a while and so on. But it has this lightness, this elegancy, this acidity, this structure. Yeah.
In general, acidity is something in Denmark we are very happy to have.
Yeah.
And all our products, we have a nice acidity. And acidity is, for me, very necessary for the aromatic. It keeps things together.
And I mean, you have to say 12% alcohol, right, for a red wine. I mean, this is really in the low end. I mean, let's say from the mouth perspective, it rather reminds of some Beaujolais lightness and style, right? And this, I think, is like super exciting, getting this together with this like complexity in the aromatics and the nice. The aftertaste is great. I mean, it's just like lingers and develops there, like fruity and this dark chocolate perspective. It's really like dark chocolate, like running down your throat. It's cool. Yeah. I'm really impressed by it every time again when I taste it. And I mean, this is, I think, really the product how we should convince people of drinking like Scandinavian reds.
And
right?
the 2 bottles you have on the table here, that is what we focused. That is our main focus: the sparkling and red wine. We want to get even better in red wine. We want to do more red wine in the future. But these 2 products, I think, is what we are good at. Really, really good at.
So rounding it off, our short little presentation here, you can meet Skærsøgaard at the Cool Climate Wine Summit 2026, 10th to 11th January in Copenhagen. So please come around and meet them. But to round it off, 5 years from now, where is Skærsøgaard? Where are you?
Then in 5 years from now, we're planning the next Cool Climate Summit.
I love it. That is a beautiful ending. Cheers. Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank that you are here. I'm looking forward and I hope to see many people at Cool Climate Summit 2026. You can find Skærsøgaard and some other amazing Danish winemakers out there. And thanks, Jan, for organizing that.
We'll make it great.
See you there.
On Danish wine.
On Danish wine. Bye-bye.